Witches.
Hi, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Folklore. Nope,
Slash
Cryptids.
cryptids.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about how my cryptid choice is more folklore based.
Mine definitely is as well. Mine's not really a cryptid. She's a real person.
I feel like cryptids and folklore, though, and I probably said this before, are not interchangeable, but pretty damn close.
They're so similar. Yes, I would agree.
A lot of cryptids are based off of some type of
Folklore.
mythology, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like where we're wrong with. Maybe we shouldn't say folklore. Maybe we should be calling it more mythology than.
Maybe.
Oh well.
It's fine.
But so I chose to do the Banshee, which is actually from Irish folklore. I might be super Irish, so that don't mean I know how to speak some Gaelic. So I apologize for anything up ahead. I did get a pronunciation guide, but that's still probably incorrect too. So, anyways, I am going to talk about the legendary Banshee. So the Banshee is a supernatural figure whose mournful wailing is often believed to foretell death. So I'm going to talk about her origins, what she looks like, and some stories that have happened throughout the generations. And I'm also going to talk not necessarily about like her specific origin. There is there's like a Banshee in other locations as well. So they have their own version of the Banshee. So what is it? So the legend of the Banshee actually dates back to very early Celtic traditions. The term banshee comes from the old Irish phrase. It is not pronounced the way I'm about to say it. It is not pronounced. It's not spelled. I should say it's not spelled the way that I'm about to say it. But it's it shows it's like a bean. It shows that it's spelled bean and then S with a specific type of IDHE. But this is actually, I mean, it's the word it's banshee. It's literally banshee. So
But it's spelled different.
Yeah, it's just spelled different. I think it's like Banshee is what it is, Banshee. But it translates to the woman of the fairy mound. These mounds, known as Shia, were believed to be portals to the other world, where the fairy folk, or as they're pronounced, the Tuatha De Danann, not spelled that way, are believed to reside. Depending on location or, wherever, the Banshee's appearance can vary greatly. She can be seen as a young maiden, so a young, beautiful maiden with long flowing hair and a gown symbolizing purity and innocence. She could also be seen as a motherly figure, with like a stately matron embodying wisdom and experience. She could also be seen as an old hag. So funny. The most common depiction is basically like an older, deathly woman with a gaunt, terrifying appearance. And in some regions, she is a headless woman. She is often seen in these regions, at least. She is described as, a headless woman carrying a bowl of blood. But no matter her form, she is consistently featured with long flowing hair, and combing it with a silver comb. So The keening or wailing of the Banshee is her most iconic characteristic. This mournful sound is believed to foretell the death of a family member. The cry can range from a soft moan to a heart-wrenching shriek. It is said that only those who are about to die or those close to them can hear her wail. Ugh. The practice of keening was also a traditional part of Irish funerals, where professional mourners known as Bon Queen. I did it. Bon Queen would sing laments for the deceased. The Banshee's keening is thought to be an otherworldly extension of this specific tradition. So the Banshee is also said to be connected to certain ancient Irish families. So those clans, particularly with the surnames starting with O or Mac, such as O'Neill, O'Brien, O'Connor, O'Grady, and Kavanagh, or like Mackinac, that's not it. Like MacDonald, kind of like those kinds of names. They are particularly connected to those families, or to the Banshee. According to legend, the Banshee serves as a guardian spirit for those families, warning them of impending death to allow them to prepare. That's nice. So across Ireland, there are different variations. There are different regions in Ireland. So in the location of Leinster and Munster, I think it's Leinster and Munster. Yeah, the Banshee is often depicted as a headless woman carrying a bowl of blood. In the location of Connacht, like Connemara area. Well, I believe it's the Connemara area. She appears as a woman dressed in green with long red hair, combing her hair with a silver comb. And then in the location of Ulster, she is commonly portrayed as a small fairy-like creature with a ghastly appearance. Wouldn't you think this is kind of where SJM got the Weaver?
Oh, maybe.
Not that she was like ever combing her hair, but everything was about hair, it seems like. And she like ate them, but that's different. Anyways, so despite the regional differences, the theme of the Banshee is that her wail was a death omen. And that was consistent across the regions of Ireland. Now there are similar spirits in other cultures. I understand Ireland and Scotland are similar in different ways. It is two different cultures, though. So Scotland, they are actually called the Bania, not the Banshee, but the Bania. It's a Scottish equivalent, and they are often seen washing the bloodstained clothes of those who are about to die. In Wales, it's pronounced the Cahirath. This one is a ghostly apparition whose mournful wail foretells death. And then again, La Llorona in Latin America, who is a weeping woman. She mourns her lost children and whose cry foretells death or tragedy, which we've already covered. Let's see. So in modern interpretations, the Banshee continues to be a prominent figure. She appears in literature, she appears in films and television shows. While her image has evolved over time, she does remain a symbol of the supernatural and mysterious, the mysterious connection between the living and the dead. So some stories about her. There's this one with the Banshee and the O'Brien family. So the O'Brien family was one of the oldest known, most respected clans in Ireland. They were said to have a Banshee that followed them for generations. According to this legend, the Banshee's wail would be heard whenever a member of the family was close to death. One such instance occurred in the early 19th century when Sir oh fuck Donna something O'Brien was gravely ill. His family gathered around him, suddenly heard the mournful keening of the banshee outside the castle walls, and then the sound grew louder and more intense, filling the night air with an eerie wail. Sir Dono passed away shortly after confirming the banshee's forewarning. In Scotland, the MacDonald clan. Oh, hey, look, McDonald's. The MacDonald clan had their own version of the banshee. Again, the Benia. One evening, a member of the MacDonald clan was returning home late at night when he saw a figure by the river, washing blood-stained clothes. And as he approached, the figure looked up, revealing a ghastly face with hollow eyes and a mournful expression. The man realized he had encountered the Benia, who was foretelling the death of someone in his family. True to the legend, a member of the MacDonald clan passed away shortly after this encounter. The O'Neill family now, which again is another ancient Irish clan, was said to be haunted by the Banshee. In one instance, the young woman from the O'Neill clan was getting married. The night before her wedding, she heard a soft, sorrowful keening outside her window. Disturbed but unsure of its origin, she went to bed. The next morning, she learned that her grandfather, who was ill and living in a distant village, had passed away during the night. The Banshee's keening had served as a forewarning of his death, connecting the family across the miles. The Kavanagh family has a renowned lineage and history. Has also had tales of the Banshee that have followed their clan. One evening, as the family gathered for a feast, a piercing wail was heard from the hills surrounding their estate. The guests fell silent, recognizing the sound as the Banshee's cry. The wailing continued through the night, and the next morning, they received news that a beloved family member had tragically passed away in a distant town. The Banshee had once again warned the Kavanaghs of an impending death. Are you on my thing?
I was, yes.
I was like, girl, who is this? Anyways, the O'Connor family had their own Banshee tale as well. So late one night, as a storm raged outside, the family heard a heart-wrenching cry that seemed to come from the very winds. The sound was unlike any they had heard before. It was filled with sorrow and despair. The following day, the family learned that a distant relative had passed away in the night. The crying woman, or Banshee as everyone has later figured out, had delivered her mournful message, forewarning them of that specific loss that was coming. So these tales of various forms, keening cries, and all of these death stories that are happening, still happen today. Not necessarily happen today, but like they are still being told today in Ireland and Scotland and all the areas that I believe in the Banshee, but have a long-standing truth or no knowledge of the legend. So yeah,
Nice.
that is the Banshee.
Nice. So mine is also a woman who can tell the future, or is said to be able to tell the future. But it's a little more specific. And this is actually, she was a real historical figure. Now, whether all of the stories and legends about her are real is a different story. Her birth name is Ursula Southdale. She was born in 1487-ish. There were some records that put her birth a couple years earlier than that. And she lived until 1561. Um, she was sometimes described as a witch, sometimes a prophetess, and is associated with folklore involving the rollright stones of Oxfordshire, um, which I'll talk about later. The first known edition of her prophecies was printed in 1641, which is 80 years after her reported death. So some of her predictions have been enhanced and turned a little bit into legend. But let's start when she was a child. She was born to a 15-year-old Agatha Soothtail in a cave outside the town of Knaresborough in North Yorkshire. It was said that she was born during a violent thunderstorm and that she was born deformed with and ugly with a hunchback and big, huge, bulging eyes. And these sources also said that instead of crying after being born, she cackled. And when she cackled, the storms stopped. So obviously, there is a lot of legend that's been created around this poor woman. The origins of her father is unknown. Agatha, her mother, refused to reveal him. And she was even brought before the local magistrate because as an unwed mother and all of that, they're like, who is responsible for this child? And she would not say. Because of this, they're very scandalous creatures and they were ostracized from their society and forced to live alone. And for the first 2 years of Ursula's life, they stayed in the cave where she was born. There were rumors flying, of course, because Agatha is out of the norm of society, that she was a witch and that her child is the spawn of Satan. And this is kind of perpetuated and made a bigger deal because in the cave where they lived, there was a pool of water and it was vaguely skull shaped. And it turned things to stone. This cave does exist and it's known today as Mother Shipton's cave. And there is a pool in the cave that will eventually turn things to stone. It's not quite as extreme as they said it then. So the pool, it's not like you drop it in and the item turns to stone. But if you put an item in this pool, because of the cave and everything, it's similar to how stalactites are formed. So the water has these minerals in it, and the minerals will attach to the item and turn it hard and porous until it becomes stone. So it's basically coated in stone. It's not actually turned to stone. But, back then, it turned things to stone. So,
isn't this like a real place in like Tanzania or something like that?
This is actually a real place in England.
Oh, I know there's like a lake in Tanzania that like the pH is so high and alkaline that like things get immortalized, I guess, as stone.
Yeah, sounds like it's similar. But this one is actually in England.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. After those 2 years of living in the cave, the Abbot of Beverley intervenes. They come to the cave and take them. Because remember, these are both children. Agatha was 15, so now at this point she's 17. At that time, that probably wasn't considered a child, but and she has a 2-year-old child. So the Abbot of Beverley comes in and they take Agatha and put her in the convent, and they put Ursula with a foster family, and they never see each other again. So at 2 years old, she's taken from her mom and never sees her again. Possibly because of her birth and possibly because of the hard life of living in a cave, She does have a large hooked nose. She has a hunchback and her legs are crooked. Um, those physical differences um, keep in everybody's minds the like events of her birth and how secretive and weird it was. And so people never forget, even though she's adopted into a new family. So she continues to be ostracized. And she, as a child, finds sanctuary in the woods and spends most of her time learning about plants and herbal remedies and things like that.
Good for
Um,
her. I want to do
yeah,
that.
right? I don't want to run away to the woods and just, yeah. Um, so in her childhood, there are there was a um legend about her that kind of cements more of her otherness. So when she was 2 years old, not long after she was given to her foster family, um, she was left alone at home so her foster mother could run errands. Left a 2-year-old at home. I mean, maybe that's what they did then. I don't know. When her mother returned, she found the front door wide open um, and called the neighbors for assistance because she was like, there could be like a murderer in there. I don't know. And they heard a loud wailing, like, quote, 1,000 cats in consort throughout the house. They went into Ursula's cradle. It was empty. They're freaking out. And after they search the whole house, they go into the kitchen, and the mother sees Ursula naked and cackling, perched on top of the iron bar where the pot hooks were fastened above the fireplace. So she's just like hanging out up there. Little demon child.
I love that.
As she gets older, she continues to learn about plants and she becomes basically kind of a medicine woman. Like she's an herbalist. She helps people create medicines and things like that. This does raise her in society's view just a little bit. She's getting a little bit more positive notice and having a more normal life. And then she meets Toby Shipton, who is the local carpenter. When she is 24 years old, which for this time period is old. She's 24 years old. Her and Toby Shipton are married. And she becomes Mother Shipton. And people in town are like, what? Like, she must have put a spell on him. Like, she's bewitched him. He's been taken in. Then things start to get a little more weird with Mother Shipton, and she starts predicting things and things like that. For example, a neighbor comes to ask her for help, saying that a thief came in and stole a new outfit that she had just bought, which at the time, clothing was expensive, so that was like a big thing. Mother Shipton was like, I know exactly who stole it. I'll get it back for you tomorrow. The next morning, they went to the market and the woman who had stolen the clothing had the clothes on and was marching through the town. She got to the market and began dancing and danced up to Mother Shipton and the neighbor, all while singing, I stole my neighbor's smock coat. I am a thief, and here I show it. So she hands it back to Mother Shipton, and then she leaves. So weird happenings around Mother Shipton here. 2 years later, Toby dies. I don't really learn much about Toby. He's there, they're married, now he's dead. But because, of course, she's a witch, the town thinks that she did it. She has the grief of losing her husband, the one person who, for any account, has ever been, like, kind to her and treated her like a human. And then the double down grief of the town turning against her and accusing her of killing him sends her back into the woods. She moves back to the cave that she was born in, and starts making potions and remedies for people, and really becomes like the typical storybook witch. So as she starts to gain popularity, though, and people come to her for these things, she starts getting a little bold, and she's like, I can see the future. And she starts by making small prophecies, which, like,
Probably not a
about
good
her
idea.
town. Yeah, about her town and, like, local things. But then as her prophecies start to come true, she starts telling bigger prophecies of the monarchy and the future of the world. Um, so much so, like, she's gained so much notoriety that in 1537, King Henry VIII wrote a letter to the Duke of Norfolk where he mentions the Witch of York, um, which is believed to be a reference to Mother Shipton. Um, some of her prophecies, I'm going to go through real quick. She made a prophecy that water shall come over Ouse Bridge, and a windmill shall be set upon a tower, and an elm tree shall lie at every man's door. The River Ouse is the river next to York, and Ouse Bridge is the bridge over that river. This prophecy didn't seem to mean much to the people of York, until the town got a piped water system. The system brought water across Ouse Bridge in pipes to a windmill that drew the water up into the pipes, and the water came to every man's door through these pipes that were made out of elm trees. So that prophecy seemed to come true in that way. There was more to it. Before Ouse Bridge and Trinity Church meet, what is built in the day shall fall in the night, till the highest stone in the church be the lowest stone of the bridge. Not long after that part of the prophecy, a huge storm comes through. The storm knocks the steeple off the top of the church, and a portion of the bridge is washed away in the river. People, while making repairs to the bridge, used pieces of the steeple that fell to reinforce the bridge. So that made Trinity Church and the Ouse Bridge what was built in the day and fell in the night. And the highest stone of Trinity Church, which would be the steeple, is now the foundation of the bridge, or the lowest stone of the bridge. So that prophecy also came true. She made an end of times prophecy because, of course, she did. What prophetess doesn't make an end of times prophecy?
God, for
She
sure.
said, the world to an end shall come in 1881. This verse was not published until 1862. And later on, Charles Hindley, who wrote this manuscript, admitted that he made this one up. He wrote this, like, fictional book of prophecies that he attributed to Mother Shipton, and published it over the years in several countries. And it was called The Life and Prophecies of Ursula Sonthal, better known as Mother Shipton. And he is the one that made that prophecy that the world would end in 1981. And obviously it did not. We're here in 2025.
It's just like how they said the world was going to end in
the Mayan calendar or whatever ended. And yeah. And then she also had some other prophecies that were attributed to her by more than one source, and they were kind of about technology. Carriages without horses shall go, so making cars. Iron in the water shall float, so like steamer ships, big ships. She also talked about trains. And then there were some about wars and conflicts. But
well, that's for sure.
right. based on some of the more contemporary, and I use contemporary very lightly because it was still like the 1800s, historians believe that Mother Shipton was a real woman, um, born in the 1480s to an orphan 15-year-old girl named Agatha Soothtail in a cave in Yorkshire. They do think that she probably suffered from a hunchback and a large crooked nose, and she was an herbalist. The prophecies are what people are not sure if those were actually, if that was just because of her legend as this great healer, and so prophecies were attributed to her, or if these prophecies actually were something that happened while she was alive. Because the earliest account of her prophecies wasn't published till 80 years after her death. They said that there was a woman named Joan Waller who heard the story as a young girl and transcribed it. But that's all hearsay and conjecture. Nobody's actually sure about that. But she did exist and she did live in that cave, and you can visit that cave. So
Nice.
That's
actually
cool.
pretty dope.
Right? I thought she was really interesting.
Yeah. I'm gonna go visit that cave.
Right?
All right, time to go. We going to England, yo.
I like it. I'm sure there's a lot of other places that would be amazing to visit there.
Oh, yeah. And there's just so much history, too.
Yeah.
Not like our history.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too, but it's
It's never good.
no. Anyways.
So, well, that's your fortune telling future whatever women of the week. All right, until next time.
Bye.